Hi guys, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. This time I'm using the Cake by the Ocean kit and add-on, which is one of the kits for May of 2016 from the Scraptastic Cake Club. I love this kit. It has lots of goodies from Paige Evans' Fancy Free collection, which is of course manufactured by Pink Paisley. You see all those beautiful papers all laid out there under my trimmer. I'm just trimming down my photo. It's a selfie that I took at a hotel room after I had gone and done some exercise. The kids were still in the pool and I came up and I was about to have a shower and my shirt was soaked in the back, which is kind of gross, but kind of a bit of a personal achievement for me. Just kind of getting back into exercise after a knee injury that kept me from running. And really, I don't think I'm going to be able to run anymore. So I had to figure out a new way to get some exercise. So I'll talk about that when I do the journaling. But first, I'm having a look at all these beautiful patterns, and you can see that they're really beautiful on both sides. What I'm looking for here is I was looking for a dark piece of paper to mat my photo on, and I decided to use the back side of one of those papers from Fancy Free, and I just kind of matted it with part of the pink showing, part of the dark pink showing and part of the light pink showing, and you saw me just trim it up there while I was chatting. So and then I also took that large piece of paper that I'm about to cut right now. That is from the Life Noted kit, the Life Noted collection, that is, from Pink Fresh Studio. So that's going to be my background, and I like when I use those variegated ombre effect type of papers. I like the heavier part to be at the bottom and the lighter part to be at the top, so that's the way I'm going to position this. And these are two florals from the Fancy Free collection. And so they go quite well together because they're from the same collection. A large floral always looks really beautiful alongside a tiny floral. So those two look quite good together. And then this is that spirograph paper from the Scraptastic Cake Club. It's an exclusive to the club and I really like it. So I trimmed it down so that you could see the middle of all of those spirographs. And I felt like I needed something that read as a solid. This is actually a pattern paper. It's also from the Scraptastic Cake Club. But it reads as a solid because it's kind of like a white on pink design, but the design is so tiny that it really does look like a solid. So I'm just layering up all of these strips like this. And at first I was going to put my photo down at the bottom of the page because that's almost always where I put my photos. And so just on autopilot, I put it down there. And then I thought, wait a minute, I always do that. So I'm going to place my photo towards the top of this layout just for something different. So my title will be below it. I'm looking for something that I can do some journaling on, and I found this paper from the Felicity collection from Pink Fresh Studio. It was in the kit. I think every single thing I used in this layout is from the kit. Anyhow, I thought it made a really good journaling piece because, well, I wasn't sure if I was going to do, I have like a small amount of journaling in mind and a large amount of journaling in mind, and I could go either way depending on how I feel by the time it comes time to do the journaling. So for now, I'm taking that Today 3x4 card from the Felicity collection, and I cut it out, and I'm going to put it there and see if I can use it for my journaling. Meanwhile, I noticed, or I actually remembered, and so then I went looking for this paper. This is paper that has all kinds of empowering phrases on it, like own it, and she believed she could, so she did, and those sorts of things. And so I'm going to take a minute here, and I was going to use my trimmer, but then I realized it's a lot easier to just use my scissors. And I'm going to trim down and cut out a couple of these blocks of phrases, inspirational phrases, because this is going to be a layout all about myself and how I got inspired to get back into exercise, even though my knee won't let me run anymore. So I have to turn off my light in order to, sorry about that. I do have to turn off my light in order to use the light feature on my trimmer because my video lights are just so overpowering. And then even the lights that are on the ceiling in my scrap room are also quite overpowering. And so I need to turn off the lights in order to be able to see where I'm cutting when I want to cut specific places. So I wanted that trimmed down quite close to the edge of where the word started. It turns out I didn't have to do that. I thought I was going to use those in a different way than I ended up using them. So I didn't have to be so specific with my trimming, but that's okay. I'll work around it when I get to the point where I change my mind about that. So I was thinking I might want to use that "you got this" with those triangles on it, but it turns out I'm not going to. But for now, I'm going to keep them together just in case. But it covers so much of the patterns that I guess I decided quite quickly that I would just trim it down. Because I have so many beautiful patterns already layered together here, I don't want to cover up too many of them because already there's a lot of layers going on. So I'm just playing around with placement here, and at this point, I still think I'm going to use that Today journaling piece. And so, I found one more that seems pretty appropriate. It's the one that says, "Life's what you make it." There's a song with that phrase in it. I can't remember which song it is. There's probably a couple songs with that phrase in it, but there's one that I'm listening to lately that's in a playlist that I have that I hear quite often. Anyhow, just kind of rejigging it, and I decided to take out that Today card and try just kind of tucking these phrases in between my vertical layers here. And that little pink piece keeps scooching out of the way, so I don't want to forget that it's there, because I'm trying to do my designing in such a way that I can incorporate all of these phrases but keep them in line with this very vertical layered look that I have going on. I'm just kind of thinking about how I can work that Today card in there, but it's not going to work. So I'm going to have to figure out a different way to do my journaling. But that's okay. I will. Spoiler alert, I do figure out how to do the journaling. So here are some of the embellishments that come in the kit. I found a phrase that really works, but it's a totally different look. It's got that kind of messy watercolored look, which these papers have a bit of a watercolory look to them, but this layout is much more structured than what those stickers would be. So I'm holding off on taking those out quite yet. And so I'm looking through the die cuts just like the package of die cuts, or I think they might be called an ephemera pack that comes with the Fancy Free collection. And I'm pulling out anything that I think might be appropriate, and I'm laying it off to the right there. And also anything that I think might go in a certain place on the layout, I'm just putting it in that place on the layout. So I love that heart, that large heart that's on the frame. And I've decided that frame is going to be what holds my journaling. But the phrase on that heart is not really appropriate to the message for this layout. So I need to cover it up. So I'm playing around with a couple of different versions of how to cover that up. And I still haven't decided if I'm going to use that acetate frame, the second frame there, over my photo, or if I'll just leave my photo as it is. I pulled out that hashtag because it's just totally cool, and it's right beside a phrase called "own it," and I like that phrase too. It's very relevant to the story I want to tell with this layout. I don't often use a whole lot of quotes and sayings and words on my layouts, so this is a very, very different layout for me. It's a very different concept, and the reason I'm doing this layout is because over on my 27-day challenge Facebook group, or even if you're not on the Facebook group, it's kind of a YouTube challenge. The challenge this month is to scrapbook yourself. It's called Express Yourself, and it's about scrapbooking your feelings and your thoughts instead of scrapbooking an event. And you're supposed to use a picture of yourself as well. So I figured that the thickers that came in this kit, the thicker phrases, they're just a beautiful turquoise, sparkly glitter. There's silver ones on the other side, but I thought that these ones were much more readable. I love the turquoise color. So I took out the words here and now, and that's going to be my title. And this is really different from me. I don't usually put a title under my photo. I don't know why. It's not all that like cutting edge or anything. But I just never seem to do that. So this is good for me to do something different. So now at this point, I have all these pieces all over my project, but none of them are glued down, which I really went further than what I normally would like to go without gluing down. But this is such a different design for me in that I had to incorporate all of those phrases that I really didn't want to not have enough room for everything that I wanted. So I thought there was some benefit to laying everything out without gluing it down, just in case I needed to shift something in order to balance everything or to have all those phrases be legible. So now that I know that everything fits and I took a picture, I'm just using my pen to mark the bottoms of all of those papers before I take them off to outline them. I'm outlining them with my medium Faber-Castell Pitt pen, which is my go-to pen these days. I have a couple of brands of pens that I like. I have a couple of videos about pens and outlining on my channel, so if you're interested in those, have a look at those. I will try to remember to put links to them in this video. So I'm just taking my time and outlining all of these papers that I had pre-cut. And this one is hidden behind another one, so I didn't have to outline that last edge on it. And the same with this one. There's only 3 edges that show, so I'm not going to bother outlining that last edge. Now, before I do anything, I can easily place these two together. Again, I have that little pencil mark at the very bottom of the pink piece that shows me exactly where I need that floral piece to line up with it. I just used my grid mat to make sure that I was laying them flat. And then the same with this one, it just layers on top, and I have marked it right at the bottom there. You see me now, I'm just erasing those markings. And I also have marked on the background paper where that layer should land, and so I'm just going to place it, and I can use those triangles to help me to line them all up. This paper is too wide now for me to shove it in because I've already glued the other pieces down to the background, so I just made it shorter. Not shorter, but thinner. Again, I'm just going to erase all those lines that I had in place to help me structure the background for this one. That looks really pretty. I feel like I need to use this again. I feel like I kind of covered up all those layers, which is good. I mean, that's the purpose of scrapbooking. I'm using this is not from the kit. So this is a piece of Stampin' Up! Vellum. It's a patterned vellum, and it's really beautiful. It's from a small 6x6 vellum pad that I have, and it wasn't quite opaque enough. It was very, very see-through with just one layer. So you saw me, I just folded it in half, and I'm going to glue it on. I thought about using the cut off piece to make it even more opaque, but then it's too opaque. So I'm actually not going to do that. So that's 2 layers of vellum right there. I just folded it instead of cutting 2 layers because it's just simpler and easier. I'm outlining with my same medium point, Faber-Castell Pitt pen, so that frame, which is from the Fancy Free ephemera pack, that frame now kind of fits in with all those pattern papers. And I'm just referring back to my photo to figure out where I need to place all of these pieces. And I'm just going to place them before I do any gluing so that I make sure that everything is adhered properly, because if I miscalculated or mismarked anything, now is the time to make any changes to those layers underneath, not once I have everything layered on top of them. So I'm thinking that's how it's probably gonna go, like that. So it seems to be lining up properly, so I'm going to start with the details. So starting with this heart, I'm going to outline it so that it kind of coordinates with some of the other items on the page that are outlined. I'm not going to outline that little thing that's attached to it. Those are both pieces of ephemera. I guess that's a little banner or arrow or something. And it just gives the here something to sit on, and just gives it something to a little bit of extra interest and to almost kind of anchor or mat the word here. So there, I just used some adhesive to stick down that phrase. It says she believed she could, so she did. And I want to staple the note to self. And this is my first time using my We Are Memory Keepers stapler on a project. It's actually not that easy to use. The jury is still out on this one. It's like I was trying to do two staples beside each other, but it kept ruining the staples and it wasn't stapling the second one very well. So I moved it so that there was even more space between them, and then it stapled okay. And I also stood up. So it could be that because I was sitting when I stapled it, maybe I didn't have enough leverage, or I don't know. We'll see. I'm still suspending judgment on the stapler. I'll use it again on this project, so you'll see me use it again. Now I have to figure out where this one was placed, and I'm just using landmarks on the pattern paper on my photo there to know where that paper needs to go. I used that leaf at the bottom of the floral paper to say, okay, it needs to be ending right around there. And then this one, I'm not loving the idea of covering up more of this beautiful floral paper, but it's the way it needs to go in order for all the layers to work. I would rather cover up the spirograph paper, but it just landed in the way that it needs to be here. So that's what I'm doing. And then my photo can go right against the You Got This, and it's going to layer over a couple of things. So I'm putting some pop dots, just some Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive on the left side of the photo, and then the right side I'm just adhering down to the papers directly with regular adhesive. And that's going to provide a little bit of lift to the left side. I didn't want quite that much lift, so I just moved one of them. The more in the middle, the more towards the middle you place those foam dots, the more leverage you get, so the higher it tends to sit. So I just moved it over towards the edge a little bit so that it sat flatter for most of the photo, and then just lifts up over at the edge. So you saw me just put more of those Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive on the back of the heart. And I'm just using the wax paper to hold the word here for now. And I'm going to do some journaling on this, and then I'm also going to journal around it. So I just switched pens there. I think I switched from medium to superfine because I am going to be my journaling is going to be very, very tiny, because I have potentially a lot to say. So what I just wrote there was accepting that I can't run and finding another option has been hard. And then around the edge, I'm writing I can, I will, I must, I am, I can. And then I just repeated some of those because I still had more space. And now I'm stapling this on here. I don't like the way that I stapled that. I kind of wish I didn't, because then I decide to add some of those little pluses from the puffy stickers from the Fancy Free, and they're just not going to layer over those staples quite well enough. But that's okay. It looks all right. It looks fine. Ideally, I would have liked to have not had the staple there so that I could put one of those X's or crosses or pluses or whatever you call them there. I'm just going to line a bit of adhesive down one side of that. That's all you really need. My layouts just go right into their folder at the end of, not folder, their page protector at the end of the month, so it doesn't have to put up with a whole lot of wear and tear. So I have some of the edging of my Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive. I just cut into it to make little half hexagons, and I just used 2 of those to support the areas of the letter of the word here where it extends out into the air. And now I'm doing my teensy weensy tiny little extra journaling, filling up this extra space. It says, but I am back on track with workouts. I love that. Sorry. But I'm back on track with workouts I love and that don't harm my knees. I'm doing it for myself and to be a role model for my girls, ... And then I just went back and underlined it. That just makes it look like it belongs, I find, underlining journaling. It makes it look less like you shoved it in where it fit and more like, oh, I planned that out and then I made the perfect length lines and then I journaled on them, which of course is not how it goes, but we won't tell anybody. So the problem with this is that from a design perspective, my title is sprawled across the bottom part of my layout right now. And it's not, there's so many words and letters on this project. I really wanted my title to be tighter than this, as opposed to sprawled all across it like this. So yeah, it's still not right. So what I want to do is nest the ampersand under the here and then put the now right there. The problem is that that leaves me a big space and I really don't want to add a huge embellishment there. I think it would seem gaudy or distracting from all of the other phrases and stuff that are there. So instead, I thought that I would just add some more journaling. So write a little bit more about my thoughts on this. So here are those thoughts. I actually surprised myself that first day when I got up at 5:30 to do my daily burn workout. There was no announcement or decision. I just did it. And then I did it again and again and again. And I will keep doing it because I love how it makes me feel. So I missed some journaling there. I'm going to have to go back and add the phrase I did it, but that's okay. I'll fix it. So it says there was no big announcement or decision. I just did it. And then I did it again and again and again. And I will keep doing it because I love how it makes me feel. There we go. And I have always loved other people's layouts when they continue their journaling above and below things. I just really, really love that. And I never thought that I never tried it because I don't do a whole lot of journaling. And I thought it would take too much planning. You guys know me, I'm not much of a planner. And so that kind of journaling seems like it really needs to be planned out. Or not, I guess. I guess I just proved myself wrong on that because I just kind of squeezed it in there where it needed to be. So anyhow, maybe I'll try to do a little bit more of that. I don't do a whole lot of extensive journaling. So here I've decided to go ahead and use this acetate frame because it's really pretty and I think it just kind of frames in the photo nicely and adds a little bit more detail. I'm going to stick that little today, and I still can't decide about that hashtag, that acrylic hashtag, if it's going to stay there or not. So speaking about not planning, you guys saw me just staple one of those acetate hearts right beside the she believed she could, so she did. I just stapled one of those hearts to that phrase, she believed she could and so she did. And that's going to cause me some grief a little bit later. I'm thinking about using this whole strip of numbers because it kind of reminds me of reps when you're working out. So I think I'm going to use those right there where they're at. I'm going to glue these down, even though my thought is that I'll probably staple them. I thought this will keep them in place while I do the rest of my designing, and then I'll go back and staple them afterwards. So here's a tip for placing these numbers or any kind of stickers like this that are already spaced out on your sticker sheet. If you want to place them in exactly the same placement that they are on the sticker sheet, all that you have to do is line it up like this and pull up the 5, hold it in place, pull out the sticker sheet from underneath of it, and then drop it right down without moving it. And you can do this quite easily because the sticker sheet has a little ghost image of where, like what I mean by ghost image is just like a little indentation of the shape of the sticker from where it was attached to the sheet. So after you pull it up, you can still align it with the clear piece of plastic, and then just quickly slip that piece of plastic right out and then place the sticker straight down onto the paper. And the last couple of numbers I didn't do a good job. I just didn't take my time, so I had to go back and reposition those a little bit. But that just helps me to have those numbers spaced exactly the way they were on the page. So here I'm using that stapler again, and it worked fine the first time. So maybe it was user error. I was sitting this time too. So here I'm stapling, and those staples over on the right are all at an angle, and the staples on the left are all horizontal. That's not the way I would normally like it to be, but that's the way it came out because I had no choice of the angling of the one on the left because I had to use that Staple Anywhere on the page, that We Are Memory Keepers staple board, and it just wouldn't fit in any old angle. It had to be in that angle, or it wouldn't fit around all of the other embellishments. So that meant that I had two different angles of staples on the hearts, which is not exactly the way I would like it, as I just mentioned. So here are the close-ups, and there are also some photos at the end. I really like how this one turned out. I think it's pretty good. The photo itself is really washed out. I look very pale, but that's okay. I forgot to glue this down. This is my regular speed of scrapbooking. This is normal speed. So you guys see that I'm actually a pretty slow scrapbooker. I'm very kind of deliberate. I use scrapbooking as my relaxation, and I find it very therapeutic. So I just take my time with it. So what I did with those staples, even though they weren't at the right angle that I wanted them to be, is I made the clusters. So this cluster of staples right here are all going the same way, and they're all the similar kind of staples. So I used the Stampin' Up! Stapler with that because it's the same size. And then over on this side, I made all the staples go the same way so that it's not going to look odd. Wait, the ones that your eye takes in together are all going to be going the same way is what I'm trying to say, I think. So, and I just kind of floated those little X's all around the word here, and I really like how that looks. It's different than the design principle that tells you to put a little bit of everything in each of your clusters. Instead, I have two heart clusters, and then I have a cluster of X's, which is, again, that's different than what the design principles tell you. But I feel like it's almost more like a garden, like you know how you put like clumps of flowers together. And that looks good. I think that it's just another way to cluster your embellishments. You don't always have to follow the rule of repetition and cohesiveness and that sort of thing. Sometimes you can just do it the way you want to do it. So there's the overall layout. Thanks so much for watching, and have a really great scrappy week.